Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. It is time to nitpick on the Galaxy A70. I've given you a lot of coverage on this phone. I mean, tons of videos. I have at least 70 videos now. I have at least 10 videos probably on this phone. And at the request of the subscribers, I post videos that you guys have questions on. So it's time to nitpick the Galaxy A70. And I'm really nitpicking. I'm really reaching here in this video because honestly, folks, I just couldn't find too many things that were a few of these are legitimate as far as I see it. One of them is extremely legitimate, but the other ones, more than likely, these won't affect you at all, and you're probably not going to be bothered by them. So the first thing is the fingerprint reader. Now, I've already posted footage on this fingerprint reader, and it is not the fastest, and that remains to be seen, but I would like to use the fingerprint reader more than the facial recognition. Because it's quick, it's easy, you can just touch the screen, boom, it's on. But this is an affordable, pocket-friendly device, so I'm not expecting the fingerprint reader to be the fastest. But sometimes I have to touch it more than once, and I just end up resulting to the facial recognition. Now, I posted a separate video on the fingerprint reader, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already done so. But this is coming with extended use. Sometimes, you know, you're in that mood where you're just trying to get in your phone and you get agitated. And this is where it is, you know. But the fact that they have an in-screen fingerprint reader, it's good to go. Now, the next thing is the most serious on this list, and is the network. Now, sometimes I've noticed when I leave Wi-Fi and I leave the house, it'll be on 3G sometimes. And I'm like, whoa, 3G. Then it'll switch to HTTP+, then it'll switch to LTE. But sometimes in the house, it stays on 3G. Now, you guys know that I don't have the best signal in my house. It's what I have a signal booster. But reality is I would like for it to have good service all the time, and this is why my battery life is affected, because my signal in the house is always searching, which is why I switch over to Wi-Fi, because I have Wi-Fi calling on this device, and that's one of the pros. But you know, having it stay on 3G for, you know, maybe 2 to 3 minutes is a little annoying. If anything, I want it to be on LTE all the time, and when it is on LTE, it doesn't have the strongest signal in my house, so I'm forced to kind of get on Wi-Fi for the most part. But that's nothing major to a lot of people, but it's major to me. Some people will say, well, at least you're getting service, and you have LTE like 95% of the time or 99% of the time. Yes, but in those times where I really need LTE, I want it to be there. So the network is probably the most serious thing I could talk about on this video. So the next thing is the bottom firing speaker. I would have loved to have seen a stereo speaker setup, or at least one front-facing speaker, or a top-mounted speaker on the side of the device, so when you're holding the phone like this, you've got a speaker coming out of that way or something like that. Don't tell me that's crazy, because it's already being done. But, you know, the speaker placement affects the sound of the phone, because you can easily cover the speaker, and the real sound comes where you're peaking out at about 80 to 100%. Then you get the sound really good. Now, the flip side of that is I have Dolby Atmos, so when I plug in, it is absolutely fantastic. So the next thing is the design of the device. The slippery design of this phone, while it is beautiful, again, that's another pro to it, it is extremely slippery. So in fact, I like to not keep the phone in the case, but I've actually been wearing it in this Ringke case like 24/7. I have not really taken it out of this case because it's so slippery, I don't want to break it. This is a future giveaway device. But I'm glad that I have a nice case. Shout out to Ringke for providing the case. This is probably the best case I have ever used on a device here lately. I've used it on my G8 and several other phones. But this is this camouflage case right here. That's crazy. But the phone is beautiful, but the downside of that is that it's freaking slippery. Now, the last thing, because I couldn't come up with too many things, remember I'm nitpicking here. The last thing is the availability of the device, and I had my list here. The availability of the device is not official in the US, which means I had to get it third party, or, you know, I had to get it from another source and not directly from Samsung. So this is something that, you know, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, you know, why in the world do they not make this available to everyone? So, you know, that is a short list. It's a really short list. However, it's definitely a list that I needed to make. Now on the flip side of that, there are the likes. And I have way more likes than dislikes. Pros outweigh the cons in this situation. So when I spoke about the fingerprint reader, the upside of that is that I have facial recognition. And the fact that I even have an in-screen fingerprint reader on a $300 phone, that is fantastic. You know, the facial recognition is helping me in those situations where I'm getting frustrated with the fingerprint reader, and that's just how it is. So another slippery side of this slope is that I talked about the phone being super slippery, but this is a beautiful design, and with this you get this beautiful screen. It's a gorgeous 6.7 inch 1080p display, and it is absolutely fantastic. There is nothing to dislike about this display. That is the truth. This display is off of the charts, man. So another positive to that, I talked about the speaker placement. Another positive to that is that I actually have a headphone jack. You know, some phones today, all the flagships are taking away the headphone jack. That is a horrible deal, to take away the headphone jack. That's just bad. That is a bad thing to do to customers. A headphone jack is extremely essential to a lot of people. So having one on this device at this price point, because this seems like this is where it's going. You know, the phones are costing more and they're taking away a whole bunch of stuff. We talked about this a million times. Pay more, get less. And this is happening in the world today. So another thing, I talked about the dislike on availability, but the fact that I can even get this phone and have it work in the US, fantastic, which goes along with the network. It works on LTE for me. This isn't something that's a surprise to people. You just grab the right model and you've got full LTE in the US. This is a huge, huge plus. A huge plus. And that's why I like reviewing phones that are not on the norm, or getting phones that you might not have heard of if you're in the US. And I have a lot of people following me outside of the US. Salute to all those people. Congratulations for joining the team, over 100,000 plus. But availability is important to people, and the fact that I can even get the phone is exciting. Now, another plus to this is none other than the cameras. The cameras are boss. The cameras are fantastic. I don't have to go over all the footage for this because it's unbelievably good. It's just ridiculous. The footage that comes from these cameras are stupendous, straight up and down. I don't need to get into a whole long drawn out about that. I've done extended look at the cameras on here, front and rear, and they are absolutely great. The wide angle is off the charts. The portrait shots are off the charts. It's just a good phone for video and taking photos. Now, another plus is the battery. You get a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, and this goes back to consumers being robbed the more money they pay. $350 gets you a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, a 4,000, 3,500. You get all these big batteries in phones that cost less than $400. But the more you pay, the less you get. So that's something to be aware of, man. I could go on and on about the likes about this device, but I'll leave it at that. Dislikes versus likes. I'm telling you, the likes will always outweigh on this device, man. I love the design of this phone too. The hardware is absolutely great on here. Like the design, like I don't like how slippery it is, but it's beautiful. It's a catch-22. So back into the case before I drop it. This is the ultimate setup. Look at the shimmer. Oh, that's just gorgeous, isn't it? Anyway, it's your man Jay. Likes and dislikes for the Samsung Galaxy A70. This could possibly be a future giveaway device. Don't know yet. Depends on the incoming and how I feel about upcoming devices. But I am definitely happy that I picked this phone up. And again, even if you're not a tech reviewer and you're watching this, I highly recommend it, folks. It is on the one of the best phones you will ever experience in this price range. It is. It's your man Jay. I'm out.